a hot, comfy seat here. So thanks for coming on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are? Because I know you wear a bajillion hats right now, and I don't really know which one to focus on.
I've actually meant to ask you that before. I was like, I wonder in what like aspect you wanted to thought, I came to mind. But yes, I definitely wear many hats, that's for sure. I mean, first and foremost, I'm like a mom and partner. I've got a 5.5-year-old kid that we were just talking about today, all her strifes and struggles. And I've been self-employed for, I don't know, the better part of a decade, I guess, at this point, in a few different things. Currently, what I do, my like day job is I'm a content creator and a VA. So I work
a VA?
A virtual assistant.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Yeah, so I do basically a lot of research writing and taking on of like the daily tasks of other people's businesses. Because I've been self-employed and have run businesses for so long, I have become keenly aware of how much extra time you actually need once your business gets going to focus on clients, and people just get so stuck like doing the things that you have to do to keep a business going, which happen to be the things that I'm particularly good at, and I enjoy doing. Like I'm a list ticker. I love that. It's very satisfying for me, and it's also creative too. Like I've been really lucky to get some good creative projects.
Cool.
And then my like by night, it's not really a job, but by night, well, by evening I go back to mom mode, and then by 8 p.m. I also work with a good friend of mine, Amber, and we run the Eclectic Herbal. So we're both sort of witchy ladies, and it's a space. We have a few different spaces. We have like an online coven as well as our Instagram account. Yeah. So actually, I was just doing a big live yesterday in the coven. So we do sort of like education and sometimes just silliness about magic, just connecting with the magical sides of ourselves and life, and so it's sort of like a nice balance between like really practical practical tangible things during the day, and then get to settle into the intangible sometimes at night, which is nice. Yeah.
Well, and you do like, you make not crafts, like incense and candles and that kind of thing with the Eclectic Herbal too, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we would make all the things all the time if we could, and my partner Amber is like out and out an artist. She's incredible. Sweet. So it's kind of like having like a superhero at my disposal. It is still early, and I didn't have coffee. But it's kind of amazing to be able to just dream things up and be like, hey,
that is great.
You think you could make that? And she can.
That's sweet.
But yeah, we do. Right now, we're focusing on candles. We do like spell candles, so they're herb infused. I grow. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and say like 75% of our herbs. Cool. I converted our whole front yard into a medicinal herb garden.
Cool.
And it's expanding. It's leaching into the backyard as well too. But and then Amber lives in this magical, mystical property in Fenland Falls. It's nice. Literally this gorgeous little house cabin in the woods. It's sweet. It's really cool. So that's really fun, and we would love to expand that into other things as well. And we're also starting to work on an oracle deck, which is super fun and exciting. But we're just sort of right now. We decided we want it to stay fun. We want it to stay a happy place for us, and like to not lose that magic. So we're just sort of
like work.
Exactly, like because we both are super like workhorses. So like let's just take it in stride and do it when we have time to do it, so that we enjoy it.
Yeah.
Keep the energy around it, clear and unmuddled with business concerns and things like that. For now, we'll see what happens. But
right on. And you do like, what's the plant gig? Is that just a fun thing? Like she's got like 7 different hats. Because you do macrame, you do plant hangers.
Yes, I also make macrame plant hangers, which is honestly just a creative outlet for the most part. I do sell them through Ritual.
Yeah.
And I have like sold some directly as well, but I just really love macrame. It's very therapeutic. It's like that nice repetitive, creative outlet. And Nadine from Ritual just happened to mention, just like one of those Peterborough moments, right?
Yeah.
Like, I wish I had somebody who could make plant hangers. And I was like, as it happens, I have a dozen at home. And so that worked out well. And if anybody ever visits my home, it is essentially a jungle. Yeah. So we're big plant people for sure.
And you like all those plants you propagate yourself and because it's not just a hanger you get, right? It's like you get a little plant.
At Ritual, it's just the hanger.
Is it just the hanger?
Yeah,
okay.
I think mostly just because if you've been into Ritual lately, it's like
there's a lot going on there.
I don't know where on earth she would possibly put a whole new selection of actual live beasts.
Yeah.
And I was selling plants out of Kit Coffee as well in hangers. Taking a little break from that just for the moment because my day job is a legit day job right now, which is a great place to be. So I needed to take one of those little things off my list. So unfortunately, but my house is very quickly getting overrun with plant babies. So we may have to have a reprise. Yeah. Yeah.
Right on.
That's very cool. Where did so it sounds like you've got a lot of the creative and analytical balance in your life with your day job being a little more of the analytical. Where did you start out in sort of your career path or your life path? Was it more on like the analytical side or creative side, or have you always been well balanced with that?
Well, it's awfully sweet of you to say I seem well balanced. So that's nice.
Take it.
I'm taking it. I am. You've got it on. It's recorded.
Yeah.
We'll use that as the Instagram clip. Just that one sentence. RJ, you seem well balanced.
Said no one ever.
I think you're balanced. Your right and left brain are working.
I don't know. That's really hard. I mean, I guess I've always been a person who, like, my outlet, my downtime is making something. I'm not a sit and do nothing. Idleness is not possible for me, which is not always great, to be honest. But so whether it's like crocheting or making crafts or typically starting multiple mini side projects, I've always had both. I mean, I started out like in terms of like a professional career out of university, which I have 2 degrees in history.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. If you need anybody to tell you about the hospitalization system in 18th century England, I'm your gal. Gotcha. But I went from there to working administrating employment programs, actually, in Peterborough. So I did that for a few years. And then I had a baby. And then I completely changed. And then I was a doula for, we'll call it 5 years-ish. And so in running that business, just sort of really further honed. Like they were seeming really, really unrelated, but all the base skills, kind of were the same requirement. And then I think what I really learned, over the years being self-employed was just how much I value the ability to work for myself and to set like that pace, which is like, I mean, fortunately for me, I guess in a business sense is like a brisk pace, but it's on my own terms. Like I can work from 9 to 3 and then mom from 3 to 8 and then work from 8 to 10 or and that's possible. And that's been really important to me, I think, especially with the younger kid.
Cool.
Yeah. Right on. What does a day in the life of a content creator look like? Like what are you like blogging for people? Or are you like what are you doing?
Yeah. So it looks like a lot of different lists and highlighters and very organized chaos is what it looks like. I work for 4 different people right now. And sometimes it's way more than that. And so, yeah, it can be anything from helping make changes to websites, for example. Okay. So like literally just changing photos out or changing content or reorganizing things, writing blogs, a lot of editing and formatting for SEO and things like that. a lot of creating like social content for people, so like Instagram post, Facebook post, content, and scheduling that all out. So it's all that stuff that's like a lot of people, they have the ideas, right? Or they're working with somebody like an actual, like I wouldn't classify myself as a like a social media consultant or like manager type, right? But I work for people like that, so they have got this ability to pull all these, like, to make the big picture of like, this is how we pull all your things together. But then each one of those ideas or categories has, you know, a dozen tasks associated with it, and that's where the time gets eaten up. So I take those.
So you don't realize like how much time even just making Instagram posts take, right? Like it's
So like I'll take people's like content calendars basically, and I'll do like all of the Facebook and Instagram for a whole month at a time, right? So it's kind of nice to do it that way too. Like, it's funny, I've been learning so much, and the fortunate part is I get to apply it to my own business and my own enterprises as well, because it really does help you stay in the mindset of what are you trying to like move towards that month, or what are you trying to communicate to people, right? It's much easier than just hopping on here, there, everywhere, like randomly a couple days a week with no no flow, no pattern, no objective in mind. So that's been really helpful, actually, even just for me to learn from people who have been doing this for much longer.
Totally. And so, because I know you from like Hello Baby days, so how did, like, what made you, I know like you transitioned from there, but what made you want to go into content creating? Like, is it just something that kind of happened upon you, or did you set up this business formally?
It was like a little bit of both.
Yeah.
It's sort of another Peterborough moment. It's like,
nice.
I don't know, Peterborough, right?
Yeah, it really
happen.
does bring people together.
It does. And so I knew a lot of people, and a lot of them happened to be self-employed, entrepreneurial types.
Yeah, there's a few of those in this town.
Couple. I've met, at least one or two. And I think I love researching and writing. And I love all of the, like I was saying, like the listing and the, you know, crossing things off lists and getting things in order. I'm a very Libra. I like
balance.
I like balance. I like order. I like to know what's happening, like, which is great. And so I was just sort of like approached by a couple of different people who had these little projects. Cool. And then some of them stayed little projects, and some of them have turned into like ongoing work, basically. And I wasn't 100% sure. Like, I didn't set out and be like, okay, this is where I'm going next. But when the idea was presented to me, I was like, well, I really love all this. Like, this is my favorite part of the administrative parts of running a business, is getting like that message and pulling a story together and writing and getting it out there. And that's like sort of an ideal situation for me. I wake up in the morning, you know, get Ren off to work. School. What else? I also take my husband to work, so it's like a chauffeur. I do the chauffeur thing in the morning, and then I come back and, you know, I get my tea or my coffee, and I get to sit down and like just think for a little while about like, what am I, and because I work for so many different businesses, and they in turn often work for so many different businesses, like the number of subjects that I can cover in a day are pretty far reaching, which is perfect for me. Like, I really like that. Cool.
So you kind of mentioned it already, but do you batch like those individual clients, so it's all accomplished once per week or once per month, or, as you just mentioned, is there a lot of overlap day by day with that?
A lot of overlap. Yeah, because everybody has different, like, some things are more time sensitive. Okay, like, they have to happen, you know, if there's a promotion or something coming up, or an event or whatever. Or even just, you know, they've set a date for themselves and they want that date. And then some things are much more, you know, sort of just flexible. Like, you can sort of ebb and flow in between other projects. Right. So yeah, on any given day, I would say I'm working, like, I'm constantly getting new tasks. Like there's always something coming in and then things going. Like the list
Right.
is never, there is never an end. Like it's just, you cross the things off, you add the new things on, and
Right.
they get shuffled over to the next day.
This long
Yeah.
scroll of like.
Yeah. It's an elaborate system. You can on my Instagram feed, you can see. I have
Okay,
like my
I've seen
master
some.
list, and then each client has a list, and each week gets divided down
Gotcha.
into things that need to happen that week, and everything has a color.
And
Wow.
it's
Yeah.
all on, is it all analog? Is it all on paper?
A lot of my self-organization, yeah. I'm a
Yep.
huge pen and paper person. Like obviously I have like electronic calendars and I communicate with everybody via email and things like that. But yeah, to sit down at a desk for me, like that is how I have to process what's happening. Yeah. Yeah, I'm very like a kinetic learner for sure. So
Yeah. And no, it's a big theme around here and with a lot of the people that we interview
Okay.
and talk to, because regardless of what digital system you go with, it just never seems to work as well as putting it down on paper, or even
Yeah.
like you said, that feeling of accomplishment of crossing something out.
Oh,
Oh,
so sweet.
so good. Yeah. I love that.
Old highlighter out. It's perfect.
Yeah.
No, and I think it's function, but it's also it's just a different experience. It's like a way of connecting for me, like with what I'm actually doing, and it also you have to slow down just a wee bit to actually write a list, which I find really helpful, because if you're just like slamming things into a digital calendar, it's really easy to just like either overbook yourself or just
You can be so much less like mindful. Like I can type and have a conversation at the same time. I can be clacking away about something different and talk to
Right.
you. Like my fingers just know because I've I don't know
Yeah,
done that for
the
long
muscle
enough.
memory of
Right?
it.
Yeah.
But I can't write down something and have a conversation at the same time.
No.
So I'm actually there.
Yeah, and I'm like, a little bit particular, even just about like the aesthetic of my ongoing lists. So
Yeah.
that I think it's a focus thing for my brain. Like I need it to look a certain way, because that's how my brain internalizes like what that day or week. Usually I do things by week, because days are, you never know what's going to happen in a day, but in a week usually you can set yourself some solid end goals. But I find it really helps me to connect with what I'm actually doing and to get that satisfaction of crossing the thing off. Like it wouldn't be the same for me at all to like click something like done. No, even just talking about it, I'm like, nope. It's no good. Like I will single-handedly keep the highlighter and post-it note industry going. I think if I have to.
I think I'm with you there. I'm with you. I actually forget when I'm out of post-it notes. I'm like,
It's terrible.
even sometimes here, if someone's calling and I'm like, there's no post-it note close by, I'm like, oh my god, I don't know how I'm gonna even like listen to this phone call. It's like, what if they say something?
I'm not supposed to remember it. Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, especially when you have things coming, like with any business, there's always input coming from so many different directions, and it's like, okay, what do I do with all of this and make sure that things don't get lost, in the shuffle? So
Totally.
yeah. If it doesn't get written down, there's a solid chance that it could get forgotten.
Totally. I used to refer to my schedule as my lifeline. And to the point where I was like, yeah, just let me go grab my lifeline and then
I'll let you know if that's possible.
Yeah,
or not.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's, I think that's the case for a lot of us.
Yeah.
And like, especially,
busy, multifaceted.
yes, when you have more than one, I don't even really remember a time. Like, I guess when I was a student is the last time I had one focus. And even then, right?
I was going to say, I bet you were still
multiple
doing
different. I'm sure there were many other things going on that I just don't really remember. But yeah, it's just the simple days, I guess, right? But you can only do that for so long.
For the first time, like, not long ago. Because everyone's like, you're going to miss school and you're done it. And I was like, yeah, okay. Now I'm like, wouldn't it be nice just to, like, hand something in and then not look at it, and get feedback, get people telling you you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great?
And give you like a tangible grade to
Yeah.
so you can
just
affirm
assess
for
your-
yourself.
that'd be
Like, how
great.
good am I doing? How well do I know this system? Perfect.
Would be nice.
Yeah.
That's what I miss.
Yeah, and having nothing to do all day but just read and learn and then write about it.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like content creation.
It's not far off. And I think maybe this is what's happening here. It's like lots of coffee, lots of sitting at desk, some late nights, reading about things you never thought you'd be reading about. Yeah, it's kind of like school.
There you go. Just no grade.
Yeah, no grade. Well, I mean, you get some solid feedback sometimes, right? Fair. You get to keep working for me, or you don't. So there you go.
That's good.
Yeah.
Right on. You cooking up a question?
I'm trying to think of which. There's so much. It's such an interesting. Once again, with the balance of it, I'm starting to get the picture of it actually being more of the creativity in you leading that balance. And so, I don't know. It's interesting, the drive to release all of this creative stuff. And we often, the core theme of the FlowCast is talking about the flow state and that optimal state of performance, sort of where you're in that zone, and creativity is often very much hand in hand with that. So do you find yourself in that state a lot throughout your day, or between different clients' work, or even into the night when you're doing like your other sort of passion projects?
I think there are like shining moments, or like small, pockets of time where you definitely can hit that really nice, that nice flow where things are just like moving along at the pace that you want them to, and things are getting done, and like you're feeling like efficient and clear on what's happening, which is really nice. I think as somebody who is really like, I struggle with not having schedule is too strong, but like being able to see like sort of what's coming, right? Like that's something that my whatever brain, psyche, spirit, I struggle with that a lot as a person, which is something I'm always getting better at it. But I think as I get better at it, I'm finding I'm getting more of those pockets of time, or they're extending a little bit longer, which is really nice, because it's great to get to the end of a day, or even just the end of a couple of hours, and be like, okay, wow. But sort of innate to what I'm doing right now is those constant new inputs. So I find it's also really easy for me to get like bumped out of that. That sort of flow, that little period of flow, right? But I think what I'm learning to do is to roll with it, but also it's just to divert, right? Like you have to, it's kind of like parallel streams almost of flow, if you will. Like there's like, I'll get into something and we're going along, and then an input comes and I have to just like switch over to this stream. And your then tracks are changing. Move over here for a while, and and that there was a time, and still sometimes I struggle with that a lot, because I don't like to leave something if it's not finished, or like in a place where I feel good leaving it. But I think the more you do it, like the more you're able to sort of pick up and come back. Like that's really helpful.
Yeah. It is a practice, right? Like we talk about the flow state a lot, and how, I mean, we usually talk about it in reference to athletes just because it's a really accessible, or artists. It's just it's an easy way to kind of have a metaphor. But, an athlete or an artist, like you're not just great at your thing right away. Like you're just, like you're training for months, you're training for years, and then it's like, hey, here's your Olympic event, or here's your like decades of training, and then you're kind of, you've practiced your flow enough that you've gotten there. So it's, I think flow's a practice, I would say. And that sounds like you're figuring it out. That would stress me out so much if I'm like in my state and someone's like, can you go here? I'm like, no. I'm here. I'm on this lane. I don't know how to get there. So I would say that's a skill in and of itself too, just like,
for sure.
I think so.
Having that fluidity.
Yeah, and even, I mean, in the bigger scheme too, like, having learning from people like yourself. Like I watch your yoga videos and like your, I'm also a Reiki practitioner, and so I've been trying. It's sort of like the challenge of the entrepreneurial life, right? Is you create a business or multiple businesses sometimes, and you do it so that you can have the life that you want, and it's really easy to forget that and just get stuck in doing the thing, like the task, right? And so I think that's been something that's been really present in my mind recently, is trying to look at each day and be like, what, like when I get to the end of the day, I want to be able to look back and be like, wow, okay, that was a great day. Like I accomplished a lot of things, like because life, you must accomplish the things to keep going. But even building in, like I found this really great little app, Down Dog, it's like this really great little yoga app. I'm in love with it. And you can set like little quick 15-minute yoga.
Oh, fun.
And it's like videos, and they show you like how to do it. It's perfect for me because I'm like, okay, this is great. So like when that's important to me, is being able to like do some things and then get up and move my body for a few minutes and then go back to work, and like try to integrate all those things, finding that time in the evening. Like I have a strict 10 p.m. like cutoff time for work. I don't work past 10 p.m., which sounds crazy late, but I can't work from 3 to 8 because mom life, and so that's just how it is, right, for me. So I work from 8 to 10, and then usually from 10 to 11 is I get to create, like I'm pouring candles or making stuff, so I get to incorporate that aspect into my day. Right. So I'm trying to build like I'm trying to make it like it's maybe not those like that flow state necessarily where things are just like that feeling, that sort of really fluid, like it's just moving feeling, but I'm trying to create sort of so that at the end of a week even I can look back and be like, okay, it was like waves, right? Like you kind of have to ride up them, and then there's periods where you have to kind of just hunker down and build up for the next little shining moment.
I think it is often more like that, especially in the earlier phases when you're just starting to figure it all out, figure your flow out for yourself. And then over time it becomes a little more something that you can kind of like drop right into. But the wave analogy of the whole week is perfect, because it could be, a night of less than ideal sleep. That's going to really impact your ability to perform optimally, both mentally and physically. And so there are those waves in the cycle, whether it's monthly or weekly, or ideally we get a little bit closer to daily, because I think that's kind of where we then find that at the end of the day we can look back and say, yes, I accomplished something great with this day that I can take forward and feel proud, or just a sense of accomplishment with. I have a question with the content creation side. Who are the people you like to learn from? Because it's a very interesting industry and field. There's a lot of people you can pull from, and there's a lot of polarizing opinions too.
True. Yeah. Definitely a lot of like really strong personalities and people. I think I'm relatively new to like the world of content creation as such. Like obviously I've been doing it in my own businesses, but without having that as a like identifying as a content creator. I think right now I just had a meeting actually with Kat Tequilo, and she is one of the people that I've been really lucky to work with in the area. She's amazing, like just a very savvy business person about all things social media and content and branding and marketing. And we had to sit down, and we're sort of just talking literally about like, what am I doing? What's happening? Like, what do you want to do? And it was funny because one of the things we talked about was that like, who are you drawn to? Like, who are you taking information in from, but also who do you want to work for? Which I think are very directly related, obviously. And I think for me, a lot of people that I'm taking notice of are not people necessarily who are coming out as like sort of like content creator, like influencers or like people. Yes, like it's more just actually other small businesses that just have like really amazing content. Like just really looking and watching, like something that comes to mind, or not something, someone, a group of people who come to mind right away because I was recently introduced to them was oh gosh, I'm gonna mess up their name now. Isn't that terrible? I can see it. Such a visual person. Sweetwater Floral. And they're in Michigan, I believe. Northern Michigan, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, I'll look that up and correct myself later if that's incorrect for you guys. But their ability to, like, something I really appreciate is the ability to tell story. Like, everything they put out is this, like, wonderful little capsule of a moment or a thought, and I find things like that really, like, that's really inspiring to me. It's like, wow, okay, like, you're so clear about who you are and what you want from your business, and like that's the kind of people that I find I'll I scroll, like when I'm scrolling, and that's what stops me, and I'll take notice of that and really look at it, and I tend to, not by design, but it seems to have worked out that I have only, with I think one exception, been working with women who run small businesses and who are themselves creative. Either offering like services or products that are sort of in that creative field, which is, again, like, it was interesting because it wasn't until I sat down with Kat to sort of hash that out that I was like, oh, maybe I already do know who I actually want to be working with. I just hadn't really thought about it as such. But yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned like the strong sort of polarizing forces, because there is a lot of like, there's sort of a real like coach culture is what I'm noticing. Like,
this is kind of a lot, coaches.
Yeah, which I mean, I think so. Like, a time and a place, like, everybody needs that in their life sometimes, is somebody to take like a strong position that you really identify with, so that you can, like, it's hard to find that direction and that push to go somewhere. It's never really been something that I'm super drawn to. Like, I love when people have, strong convictions and like are really confident in their opinions about things. I think that's great. I think just my like Libra tendencies, or just who I am as a person, I prefer when people come with a more like conversational approach to explore things, as opposed to, it's my way or the highway, like, this is the way, which I mean, I also understand in the marketing world, like, sometimes that's
how you get eyeballs.
That's it, right? Like, you have to make bold statements sometimes to get people to pay attention to you, and then you can you can break it down from there. But it is interesting to see like what reaction, like, that's the sort of content that often I'll just keep moving, because I'm like, interesting. Okay, like, I don't know, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Something I like about like even your own personal feed. I'm not even sure which one I follow is you personally, but I follow a few different accounts that Jen runs. But I like, you're always celebrating local, and you're always like people that just have inspired you, that are just people. Like, it's not, you don't see, the Gary Vee or the like. I like it because it's like a little community that you've created, and you're like, I love these posts, and I love, like, I get shouted out by you all the time, and it makes me feel so special. It's so nice. But it's like, it's neat because you're recognizing the effort of people around here, and I think it's cool to be inspired by that, like you personally, because then it's just, you're in the community as opposed to above them,
Oh,
and that's
definitely not. Yeah, and I think that's one of the, I'm sure, like, I've been in Peterborough for 16-ish years, let's say, maybe a little bit longer than that, but so it's the longest I've ever been anywhere in my life, and like, there is, for all its quirks and challenges, good old Peterborough, but the community here, if you're like if you can look for it, if you can open yourself up just a little bit to find some people, it's so amazing. And I feel really lucky. And I feel like I wouldn't have tapped in. I mean, I guess obviously now that I'm saying it to myself, and I recognize I haven't finished my sentence, but what I was going to say is I wouldn't have tapped into this community had I not become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But obviously I wouldn't have, was where my train of thought was going, because it is an entrepreneurial community, so that makes sense. But there are so many small businesses and entrepreneurial people, and especially women in this community. Like as my brain goes through, I'm like, wow, there's a huge community of women, which, yeah, like I honestly know I wouldn't have had like the opportunity to do what I'm doing right now without them. And it was interesting because in my, one chapter back working as a doula, a lot of what I did was giving and out, like I was supporting, right? And now I'm finding myself in this position of being supported by this community that I put so much time and love into. And that's really nice, like to think about it that way, like that it has really come back in this really sort of natural, kismic way. Like,
just kind of shows your heart was in it when you were doing, right? And then that just, it comes back.
And then that people really appreciated it, and and that's amazing because I so deeply appreciate it now. Like it's just all these amazing opportunities and just kind, like the same thing you were saying, just kind words or shout outs or people sort of being like, wow, like even when you asked me to come do this, I was like, okay. Sure. I mean, I guess, like, I don't know what on earth you would like me to talk about here, but
anything.
But that's nice too, right? Like, I think it's one of the really wonderful things about Peterborough is that you can really quickly kind of surround yourself with a lot of like-minded or at least like-minded, like spirited people. So it's been really, really lucky. Like we've talked about moving away many times over the past 15 years. But we just can't think of anywhere else we want to go, quite frankly. Like, so it's one of those funny little communities that once you get in here, you can really, like, I feel very rooted, which is really nice because that's not something, like, I'm a military brat, so like I did not have that ever. So now I'm really like enjoying, like, this is what this is to like have roots in a community and like know people and people to know you. And it's cool. It's like this new experience. It's cool.
I like it.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your magic side? Just because
sure.
I find like I would say we have like, I don't know, like 30% of our little community here is on the spiritual side, maybe. Yeah. Is that a fair?
Yeah, that's a pretty good number.
And then we've got like a lot of just business, kind of more masculine minded people. But I think it would be a cool opportunity to maybe destigmatize a bit, or just talk about like what's drawn you to it. What does you identify as a witch, I do believe. So what does that mean?
I think, I mean, for me, like on a personal level, like we were just talking about this yesterday. I first started, like, I think as a young person, maybe around 12, I used to live in Halifax. Okay. I actually lived in Halifax a few times, but when I was around 12, it was like my first foray into the magical world. I was finally allowed to take the ferry from Dartmouth. We lived on the Dartmouth side, technically, of the bridge. So I was allowed to take the ferry over to Halifax with my friend. 12 years old. Off I went into the big city and bustling metropolis of Halifax. And and we just happened to, I think we were allowed over there for like 2 hours. So it was like a very structured freedom. Yeah. And so we went, we were wandering up, you know what, now that I have a small human, I'm like, yes, this is, and I will be on the ferry right behind you. Like lurking and just making sure you're okay. But Bell Street, I'm pretty sure it was like the street at the time. I don't know if it still is, but there was this weird little bookshop, and we walked in and they had candles, crystals. It was like a little occult shop with all sorts of witchy books and whatnot. And it was my girlfriend, I'm pretty sure it was Kathleen at the time, but anyways, this was like my first, I was like, whoa, what is this? Because I grew up in a very like, my dad is a very, I would say like agnostic, like open, but not committed.
Yeah.
My mom grew up in a very like Irish, Eastern European Catholic. So like it was, it was an interesting situation. Like, so this was my first time ever even really seeing anything like this. And it just spoke to me like so strongly. The book that I ended up picking up, I think it's literally just, I can see it in my mind. Isn't that terrible? Wicca Craft, and it's by Drina Dunwich for sure. So it's a beautiful cover of this woman in like a sort of medieval type kitchen. Just poof, poof, right? There's some magic happening. And it was the most fascinating book, and I still have it, and I would just read it like over and over and over again. And I think what drew me to it was it's this was a book specifically about Wicca, which is in and of itself a structured actual religion.
Yeah.
And I don't practice or necessarily identify with Wicca per se, but that nature-based drawing energy and power and interacting with nature was very appealing at that young age. And it was like right from that on, I would be like stealing herbs, like bay leaves and doing all sorts of weird, like my friends and I would be, running out to the little parks, like the wooded area behind the park, and burning things, and candles would go missing, and all sorts of things like that would happen. And then it's like this sort of carry on like low-key background for a lot of like my young, teenage years, sort of lost touch with it for a while. And then probably like mid-20s or so, for whatever reason, it probably honestly just the time, like I feel like that's about 10 years ago. And about 10 years ago, there was like the beginning of this new wave of spirituality for sure, but like I think specifically the words like witch, witchcraft, craft, like that was really kind of coming up again. Like it cycles through, and that was the time. So I think it came back to me again. It was also probably about the time actually I started practicing Reiki. So I'm sure that brought me into a community where magic and energy and spirituality were coming back as well. And then when we decided we were going to have a baby, John kind of gets carried along with me sometimes, whether he wants it or not, but I started really getting in tune with the cycles of the moon. So for me, that's like a huge, like very present daily, like absolutely, even so far as to like plan workflow for the day. If it's like a waxing moon, like things are popping. If we're like during the new moon, we're probably having a chill day. Like there's probably some more macrame happening that day and less like creative writing, because it's just not, it doesn't work with the energy. But and then obviously moon cycles and fertility, like there's all sorts of connections there. But that was really like, that was my really strong re-entry point into that like concept of magic and really connecting with like nature energy again. And it's something interesting too, I guess. I have thought about it, but I don't know if I've cohesively thought about it, but having a baby, it was obviously a huge shift in my life. And really from that point on, I would say I've just like something changed, like inhibitions, shyness, giving, F's about what people fucks about. I'm like such an awkward swearing person, but I just didn't anymore. And I was like, you what?
See that with motherhood a lot. Like people just
because you know what, you just have bigger things to worry about. Like keeping a small human alive. Like everything else is like whatever. I don't care. What you think about me. But it was. It just sort of really was able to lean in and shift. And then I've always been a very, again, as actually what we were talking about yesterday, I think most people start out as very like solitary practitioners because you're never quite sure, like, if you're like, yes, I'm practicing some rituals over here tonight. Like if people are going to be like, oh, what is happening, right? Yeah. Or if they think it's cool or whatever. But I think it's been interesting. There's actually quite a burgeoning little community in Peterborough of, spiritual people, absolutely. Yeah. But I think people who specifically either identify as witches, or even if you don't identify, like I don't necessarily go around and be like, I'm a witch, but I enjoy the word and I like what it embodies as like, to me, it just means somebody who is able to like connect with that different realm, like different energies, different possibilities, right? Like, yeah. And so I think really that's kind of what it's all about. And then Amber and I, we've known each other for 14 or 15 years. And I think maybe 2 years ago, we started picking each other's brains. Like, we'd start tossing out little crumbs, like, oh, it's a full moon tonight. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, nothing. I might light a candle or something. And then we'd slowly start to divulge, like, actually, I've got this whole thing happening, and I've rearranged my altar, and like, and then we were like, oh, okay, actually, like, we both practice, like, we have these similar beliefs. And then we decided, as one does, to start the eclectic herbal, because that's how we are. And then as soon as we started putting content out, like, we're both history majors, so we approach it from a very historical, like, if you follow the Instagram feed at all, like, most posts, educational, maybe not every post, but we try and really put out some good, history. And as soon as we started doing that, we just kept finding that, like, more and more people were like, yes, like, we want to learn more, like, we are interested in this, we want a space to talk about this. So that's been really exciting too. Yeah.
And like, what do you mean, I think I know what you mean, but what do you mean by magic? Because I think a lot of people think you're over here like bippity boppity boo, like
sometimes
you're turned into a pigeon, like. No. But I think like there's a lot of misconstruedness around, if that's a word, around what magic is.
Totally.
It's more just like it's a lot of ceremony and. You tell me, what do you mean by magic?
Yeah, I think it's different for everybody. I think like for me, there's like magic with a C, which is rabbit out of a hat and entertainment and diversion and sleight of hand and like performance, right? Yeah. And then there's magic. It's usually spelled with a CK, and the difference being, to me, magic is energy. I guess it just all comes down to that. Like it's the concept or the belief that if you, and it's definitely not any kind of new belief, I think most people actually hold this belief, you can think things into being.
It's like manifesting.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. That's spellcasting is manifesting. It's exactly the same thing. Right. There's different ways to go about it, I guess, right? Like but not necessarily. Like some people who are practicing ritual are literally lighting a candle and being like, give me the money. I want the money. Like, this is what I want. It's going to happen next week. Give it to me. I'm ready, right? Like, it can be that simple. But let's just speak it into being, right? Yeah. Like, that's a spell. It's words are magic, right? Yeah. Or it can be much more elaborate, and you can really like hunker down and make it into a meditative, paired with a moon cycle, right? Pulling card, like you can really draw in something a lot bigger if you want, but you don't have to. Like it's, I think more people believe in magic. But they might not. We talk about power of pen to paper all the time, and how like that can help make your dreams come true. And like I think you would call that magic. It's like, magic, right? It's just 100%. For me. I look at nature and you see how it all works together, and I'm like, that's magic. It's magic. It's all You plant a seed, that's magic. Right? You have a baby, magic. Yeah. It's just You suspend yourself in a floating tank of fluid and escape reality. That's magic. I'm pretty sure. I haven't done it yet, but it's pretty magical. Pretty sure. Pretty sure that's magic. Yeah. And I think that's it. Really, it's just about finding that magic in every day. And it's like literally my like little go-to for my content creation business is words are magic. Like you can change the way you think about something depending on how you speak about it, right? And you can change your relationship with something depending on the words that you either speak like in your mind or speak out loud, doesn't matter, or write down. But it really does change. You can describe what we're doing here in 5 different ways, and it would completely alter how each of one of us felt about it and how other, words are so powerful, and you have to really be mindful of how you use them, I think. Cool.
I like that. I really appreciate you sharing that because I think it for me just the word magic is like if there's a sense of wonder attached to what you're experiencing, like call it magic. Yeah. Or if you've like created, you talk about like your big hairy dreams, audacious dreams, your BHAGs. They're just like making those into reality. Like there's a lot of force behind that, and you call that force whatever you want, but like making it come to life, like you have conjured that. That's cool. Yeah.
And I think that's it. I think we could all use a little more sparkle, like a little more magic, right? Like just being alive is pretty magical.
Totally.
Like our bodies, the air. Like I was watching chickadees this morning. I'm like, what is this? I've got strawberries growing under a foot of snow in my yard.
No way.
Magic.
That's pretty
magical.
Like,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like you just have to look for it. It's everywhere. Yeah. And just like be open. The minute you start like taking the time to notice things. Yeah. It's amazing what like you will notice and how regularly things will keep coming to you. It's like, wow, okay,
yeah. I think you see
something
what
to
you look
this.
For, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't really want to say anything else because that was just such a wonderful way. Yeah, I guess just the one thing that kind of ties it all together with what you said today too is it's all about storytelling. And you said words are magic, and it's that storytelling of whatever you want to make life out to be, or your business out to be, or your Instagram feed out to be, and it's all storytelling, and that's what it makes sense to me. You know, that's history, and the best history is storytelling, and yeah. So thank you. That was really awesome.
That was
Thanks
fun
so much for
to
having me.
Yeah. So okay, this is a tough one. Where do we find you?
Okay.
If people wanted to look you up, where would you put them first?
You can hop over to Instagram if you are looking for me in my like day job role as a content creator or for anything sort of professional. It's just Avis VA. And if you're looking to connect with myself and other people on a more magical level, you can hop over to the Eclectic Herbal. Cool. And I'm also at Reiki PTBO for all things Reiki. Cool. It's pretty specific over there.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on and talking magic. And that was fun.
Thanks. Yeah, that was fun. Good. I feel much more.
There you go.